welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. My name is Cayatanita. If you're struggling pronouncing that, you're more than welcome to go ahead and call me Kaya for short until you go ahead and get the name down. I just wanted to go ahead and remind all of you that my channel here is a very safe space for any questions or concerns in regards to your care or my care. You're more than welcome to go ahead and answer any questions. I just wanted to be able to be like an open book for all of you as we're going along in this journey, or you're following me throughout my journey. I would love to hear from all of you. I really would. Because it will give me like some insight as well from people from all over sharing their experience. So on today's video, I really wanted to go ahead and go over my experience with surgery, with having the surgery that I had done, and just what brought me to make my decision into choosing to have both my breasts removed. I know it like usually typically like you've had both of them removed, and I'm like, yeah, I've had both my breasts removed, and honestly it had its ups and downs. I'm not going to lie about that, but honestly it wasn't too bad. I wouldn't say I wouldn't want to go ahead and do it again, but it was something that was like, okay, you'll get through this and you'll be fine, and it's not as bad as you seem, honestly. Maybe I have a high pain tolerance, I don't know, but it really honestly wasn't too bad. So like I mentioned before in my prior video, that I had both my breasts removed, and the actual procedure is called a double bilateral mastectomy. It's like a mouthful, and I actually had with the nipple sparing, so I only spared my right nipple, not my left, and I'll go ahead and explain why my left wasn't spared. There's certain things that you're gonna have to kind of do beforehand and to take care of before you even have surgery, and so I knew that I needed that time off, so it's really important you go ahead and kind of work with whoever, if you're working or anything like that, go ahead and get that time off, because there's just going to be some things you got to do. And like I mentioned in my video before, that you're going to have to go ahead and want to kind of get your life in order, because you're going to be out for a while, to be honest. So I was diagnosed with breast cancer in July, and that following week I had an appointment to go ahead and meet with a team of specialists. So I met with the adrenal surgeon, I met with the plastic surgeon, I met with the oncologist, I spoke with radiologist, and I think that was pretty much it. Like, those are the people that I kind of like spoken with, and those are the individuals that are part of my team. And that's how you kind of have to look at it, as like they're a part of your team. This is your journey, and you got to get through it together. And it's just, and you got to be in control. You got to feel in control, and you kind of need to go ahead and speak up for yourself. And that's why I mentioned you got to ask those questions. So I met with all of them, and I made that decision to go ahead and remove both my breasts, was because that, one, I have a family history of breast cancer. So my grandmother, who I've never met before, she was diagnosed with breast cancer at 36 years old. My aunt, she was diagnosed with breast cancer at 42. So, and here I am 32, and it's like, let me go ahead and like, I don't want to necessarily have to like kind of be not bothered, but I mean, I don't really want to be bothered with it like in the next few years. Maybe like if it was, God forbid, if it was to come back, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, it does come back and blah blah blah. Okay, I understand that. Like it's just wishful thinking, but I would like to deal with it sometime like 30, 40, 50 years down the road. So that's why I decided to go ahead and have both my breasts removed, because at 18 I already had like cyst in my, in my right breast, and I've had eyes like already in my right breast. And so with my left breast, I knew that, I was like, hey, I have a growth, I have a tumor here, and I want it to come out, and it needed to come out of my body because it was leaking like out of my nipple. I was having nipple discharge, so it wanted to come out. It did not belong in my body. It wasn't going to survive in my body. So I knew that the best choice for me was get both of my breasts removed. And I told him, take everything. I don't want to hoard onto these. And And that's why I mentioned, you know, take a picture of your boobs, because, and that's your moment to say thank you, but no thank you. I'm going to miss you, but I'm not going to miss you, and just moving forward. So that's what I decided to go ahead and do. And I knew that I was going to have all of this testing done that needed to be taken care of. And there was tons of testing and tons of vials of blood. Oh my goodness, there was tons of vials of blood. But before even that, they scheduled me for a PT scan, an MRI, and more blood work, and they wanted to go ahead and see where I was physically at, and then two, to see where the cancer was at. If the cancer, thank God, like it didn't spread throughout the whole entire body. And when I did the scan, it wasn't throughout the whole body, and it wasn't showing up or anything like that, and where it just went everywhere. And I was so excited. I was like, thank you, God, thank you. It's just here, and we're going to get it out, and it's going to be out of my body, and I'm going to be like moving forward with my healing, and everything is going to go well, and I'm going to be okay. Like, I was just like, okay. And I had one of my appointments where I had to pick up like my operating bag, I guess, to get ready for surgery. And I remember there was some instructions and guides, things that you need to go ahead and read through, because they really want to make sure that you understand what you're having done to you. And so I just had like a lot of information to read and go over. And over the surgery, they really stress that at Kaiser, which is wonderful, because so you can just say that, hey, like, no one's ever told me, because they kind of did. They'll call, and you have, you know, the information on their website, you have the information on their app, and they're providing you with guides. So there's no reason why you're like, oh, I didn't know what I was having done, or I didn't understand what I was having done. So it's so important that you really understand your diagnosis. And so I have this information, and in that bag there was like a toothbrush, toothpaste. There was also, like, I can't even think of like the name for this thing. I always just say my breathing machine, because it was really quick, but I'm really having chemo brain right now. But I can't think of this, but it's really important that you go ahead and you really, like, when they tell you how many times you should be breathing, do it. Like I remember every hour I was just it's good for your lungs. It's good for your lungs. It'll help expand everything. It'll help your breathing. It'll avoid you having to have lungs collapse during surgery, asthma in the future, because when you're going under, everything is just basically exposed. That is just like your body's in shock, because they're cutting you open, and it's just like, what's happening? Your body's just, it's naturally going under stress. I mean, you're sleeping, you're sedated, you're under, but your body is going under stress, and it's just like, what is happening right now? And it's basically like, that is just what your body is going through. So it's so important that you do that, so you follow all the instructions that they want you to go ahead and do. So before then, I had my testing done. I had to go in a day before my surgery. I had to like go to this appointment, and when I go to this appointment, the gentleman that has to go ahead and inject me, because it's an injection to go ahead of something, and I can't think of it at this moment. I do apologize, to help the surgeon, and it had to go inside of my breast. And the gentleman, oh my gosh, like, I look at him and I'm like, did I go to school with you? And he's like, yeah, we went to school. And we were just kind of talking and chopping it up for a while, and that just made me so much comfortable, because keep in mind, like, the biopsy, when I talked about, like, you're getting that needle and they're injecting you and then injecting your armpit, I was like, oh, I don't want to do this. But I was just so relaxed and so calm, and he just reassured me that everything was going to be okay. And he just was very uplifting and just giving me praise, and like, he's like, you're in good hands. So it just made me feel a lot more comfortable. And so when he did it, I was like, great. Then I had an appointment over the phone with one of the doctors. They want to go ahead and double check and confirm. If they didn't triple check it, then they're going to go ahead and just like brief with you again over the phone to make sure that you understand what you're having done to you. So and then they mentioned, they were like, your iron is so low, and I was like, well, you guys wanted 19 vials of blood, so I don't know, like. And then I was like, and prior to that, I was giving you guys blood and then hormones. I was like, yeah, like, of course, like, things are low, like, I have no more like life to give. So they mentioned that, like, okay, like, well, you know, you're going to, like, the day of your surgery, you're going to get some iron. I'm like, oh, okay, like, one thing I need to go ahead and worry about. So that night, I remember just prepping my skin, getting my body deep cleaned and showered up, and then they provided me with, like, special wipes that I need to wipe myself down with, and I just, like, went ahead and just, you know, washing up and getting myself wiped down, and oh my goodness, you guys, like, the day of, I was just, like, so nervous. I was nervous because I was like, okay, I hope my family, they were driving from Vegas coming in, and I was nervous that they were making it safely and they were going to get there on time so I could see them beforehand, and then I was nervous because, you know, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I hope that, like, it's not too painful like my open heart surgery, which open heart surgery wasn't too painful, but I was, like, thinking, like I hope it's just trying to, like, compare apples and oranges, like, to the situation. And then two, it was early in the morning. I am not a morning person. I am, like, in love with the moon. Me and the moon are, like, in a full-time relationship, and me and the sun are working it out. So, but in due time. So I was just kind of like, okay. And then I remember they called me back there, and they called me back to the room, and they were like, here, you know, here's your things that you need to get changed into. Here's your bed. So it's just like, okay, and I'm getting changed. I get settled into my bed and, you know, getting all hooked up. And then here comes, like, my, you know, the surgeon, and you have, like, the plastic surgeon, and they're kind of running behind, and they're still trying to, like, I need to eat breakfast. And so it was just, like, a lot going on, and I was super jealous too because I'm starving. You know, typically, like, before you even have surgery, you don't even eat. So I was super jealous that she was able to go ahead and eat, and I wasn't going to be able to. And so I was, like, asking her about her breakfast, and they just wanted to kind of reassure her, like, once again, if you didn't understand what you were doing and why you were there, they wanted to make sure that you understood, like, your diagnosis, or, you know, what you were having done, making and reassuring that you're going to be okay. And so that was pretty awesome, and just kind of confirming and making sure, like, okay, this was done, that was done. So, and signing consent forms, got my consent forms signed, and then it was time to wheel me on off. And they went ahead and they wheeled me on off to the operating room after I had, like, a metal piece, like, inserted into my armpit. Oh, which was, like, not fun at all, but it had to be done. But my surgeon was there. I love her. And she made sure it got done. And so we wheeled on. As soon as I was done with that, we wheeled me off to the operating room. And we get to the operating room, and it was just bright. And gosh, and I remember just looking at them, and I'm like, they're just so professional. And then it was quiet. It was, like, bright. It was quiet in there. And they were standing there just, like, patiently waiting the individuals that were going to go ahead and assist. And I'm laying there, and I was like, I hope you guys, like, listen to some music while I'm under. Like, I hope that you listen to some music while I'm under, or I don't know, like, I hope you're, like, loosen up or something, you know. And then they're like, oh, okay. And they're like, we're going to go ahead and move you on over. And then so I was just trying to make the light of the situation, so I just kind of flashed my butt and, like, oh, oops, let me go ahead and flash my butt. And they, like, transferred me over to the table, and they just laughed, and I knew, I was like, it's going to be a long day for them, and I'm pretty sure they're not looking forward to it, but I was just so grateful that they were there all in the room. And so they were waiting on the plastic surgeon because it was time for briefing for them, and, you know, and I remember the anesthesiologist, she was talking to me and, you know, just kind of going over, like, have you had, and I was like, yeah, I've had, you know, been under before, and just, you know, just kind of just calming down the situation, so it wasn't really too bad. And so they, as soon as, like, you have the general surgeon, you have the plastic surgeon, they start briefing, and then I went under. And then I remember waking up, and the only reason I woke up, because I probably would have just been sleeping still, but the nurse, she was just digging in my left wrist, and I just remember cutting my eyes at her, and she was like, oh, I'm trying to, like, something with the IV. I couldn't really understand her, and so, like, oh, okay. And my throat, when I say my throat was, like, drier than the Sahara Desert. It was so, it hurt. It was so dry. I was like, please give me some water. And so she's like, okay. She comes over with the ice chips and water, and I just drank it all, and I was still thirsty. And then next thing you know, then my boyfriend comes in, and I was super excited to see him. And I was like, man, because because I'm still hungry now. I still had the breakfast on the brain. I was like, man, I'm so hungry. I just want some pancakes. I want some pecan pancakes. And he was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, I want some pancakes. And and then I was like, how long did it take? And he was like, 30 minutes. And I was like, 30 minutes? Like, inched. Nothing, doesn't happen that fast. And I don't know why I would believe anything that he was saying, but I was like, 30 minutes? Like, wow. Like, I was like, there was like some ninjas in my mind. And he was like, no. And later it was confirmed my surgery was 10 hours. My surgery was 10 hours, not 30 minutes. And I just couldn't believe it. And it was 10 something at night, and I was starving. And I was like, I want more water. And they're like, be careful, we're giving her all that water. She may throw up, but I didn't throw up. I finished that water. It was dry. When I say dry, it was dry. And so I needed water. And they're like, okay, you're going to be here overnight and we'll monitor you. And so it was just like, okay. That day, like August 9th, I had, that was a Friday. And so I was there for 3 days, and I was struggling with pain management because I don't like to take pain medicine. And so for me, I was like, no, I don't need medicine, I'm fine. And then pain will come, and I'm like aggravated and irritated, blood pressure will rise. And there was like one moment in time where like I was in pain and I was aggravated and I was just really annoyed, and I knew my blood pressure was rising after like the nurse comes in and he checks it and everything. And then my heart was just kind of going crazy because I'm being stubborn about taking pain medication. And I remember they were like, we're gonna have like an EKG done, and they come in. So there was like one nurse, and then there was the machine wasn't working, and then they bring in another nurse, and then there was like somebody else was there, and then there's my boyfriend, and then there's my sister, and I'm just kind of laying there, and then with them trying to get the EKG like plugged up on my chest and all over my body, and and at that time I'm exposed, so I'm not wrapped up, I don't have the compression on, and I think I just felt so overwhelmed, because I have so many individuals in the room, and the machine's not working, and I could feel their frustration. It was a lot of energy in the room, and I see myself, and I knew what I'd done. Like, I understood what I was getting done, but Jesus Louises, like, I couldn't, like, I looked, and I just cried, because that was my first time. It was such a vulnerable moment for me, and it's okay to, like, cry, but it was such a, like, vulnerable moment for me, and I just remember just trying to, like, process, okay, this is what you had done, this is what needed to be done, and it's really ugly. Everything looks dented in and ugly. If I was a doctor or a surgeon or something, I'd be like, oh, that's normal, but I'm not. And so that was the first time just looking at something that just wasn't full, and I cried, and I wanted everybody to leave the room and to leave me alone. Do not touch me, don't talk to me, don't look at me. And I was trying to, like, do my best to hold together, and I was in pain. I was just really, it wasn't necessarily pain, I was just frustrated, because it was just a lot of energies in the room. And I remember my sister kind of running off, and she was crying, and then my boyfriend's trying to hold it, like, everyone's trying to hold it together, and then they were so sweet enough, they just backed off and they left the room, and I'm like, okay. And I was just having a moment, and it was just having a moment of, like, anxiety a little bit, because it was energy. Like, when your body's going through so much, it's just like it's really important to kind of be in your own space and not be in the hospital, or if you're in the hospital, just to have, that's why they say only a few people in the room, because it's just your energy, like, you're feeding off of a lot of that, and your body is so sensitive at that moment, so it's really, really important. And I knew that I needed to be comfortable, like, later on when I was ready to go ahead and look at myself. And so I was there for 3 days, and when I finally came home, oh my goodness, I was so happy. I was happy to be home, because I was able to see the dog, and then coming into my clean space, and I was excited about taking a shower, and coming into, like, the room smelling like flowers, because there were so many flowers. And friends dropped off so many goodies and everything for me, and I was just like, okay, like this is my moment of peace. And my lazy boy was there. My boyfriend, he purchased a lazy boy for me, and I was just so grateful. And I was just like, okay, I can relax and I can recover, and I can go ahead and get through this. And my sister, luckily she was here, and she was assisting with the showering and everything, and assisting with me when you gosh, I know she's gonna hate me for saying this, but I have to say it. So when you have your first poop, especially right after surgery, and even at the hospital when I had to poop, and she's gonna be mad, but I couldn't do it because I was like, I couldn't wipe myself, because once again, like, I just had both my breasts removed, and then kind of find out, like, they went ahead and they removed my lymph nodes, and I didn't really discover that until later, and until it was like told to me. But and so things were just like awkward, and I had to remember just like calling her to just be able to, like, I could wipe myself during pee, but that really kind of hurts. But I was like, I need you to wipe back there, wipe. And so she hates me for that. And so when I came home, she kind of had to help, but I had to like get readjusted. But it was like, at the point, it was like so funny. Like, it was only for like those 2 days where I just felt like I couldn't like wipe. I was struggling just a little bit. So, but she'll hate me for it, but it just is what it is. But I needed her help, and I'm so happy she helped me with that, and she helped me with the showering. And when I received the information that, like, hey, like, you've had, I had 8 lymph nodes removed on my left side, and then I had 3 lymph nodes removed on my, right side. And the reason why was because one of my lymph nodes was compromised. And on my left side here, one of my lymph nodes was compromised, meaning that, just a little bit of dye that they were injecting me with, to kind of like all of that little testing that I had to do before that helped guide them, and it didn't show up on the scan. Well, as soon as they opened me up, they were able to go ahead and see, like, oh, one little lymph node was like compromised. So she went ahead and she made that decision, like, well, she's young, she doesn't want to be bothered with this, I'm gutting everything out, like she said, she mentioned, and she did, and I'm happy that she did. And I remember, like, just like, okay, like, well, this is what I signed up for, and this is why I'm like awkwardly like struggling here. And so I was like days like trying to get through everything throughout the surgery. Gosh, rest. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Like, when you come home from your surgery and you're not having to do anything else, like, take that time to rest, especially if you have lymph nodes done, because the instructions is there. It tells you, like, when you get them removed, you need to do not ice them or anything like that, or add any extra heat. You just need to go ahead and rest your arms and just relax and just get as much rest as possible. I really can't stress that enough. I was doing the most, because once, like, after the couple of days and I started feeling good, I was like to the window, to the wow, for no reason, like no reason whatsoever. I don't know what I was thinking, like, just dumb. And then now that's why, I'm in physical therapy now, because doing all of it, like, I was just so extra, and just for no reason. And I think that in my mind it was like, well, I gotta get through this. It's not as bad as like the other surgery, comparing apples and oranges. And I was like, I'm able to do this, and I'm feeling good. I feel great, and I'm happy. It's out of my body. I felt like as soon as it just something toxic was out of my body, and I just felt like me, like I didn't have nothing suppressing me anymore, and it was out, and I was just feeling good, and I wanted to move my arms and stretch, do all these crazy exercises. Unnecessary. Like, please don't do that. And then too, I knew that following week I was going to have to go ahead and address my IVF. And so that following week I was going to have IVF, meaning that I was going to go ahead and go through fertility, and that's going to be on another video. So it was like I only had a few days, like, to kind of just be at home, and then, like, I had to go leave and start IVF and start doing my ejections and things like that, because I need to go ahead and freeze my eggs right before I do chemo. And that was just basically that. So it was just constantly 1, 2, 3, 4, like it just one thing after another. Like I mentioned, like everybody's recovery is going to be completely, totally different. Like my recovery, like you may feel a lot better than I was feeling. I wouldn't be jumping up and down, but you may feel a lot worse than I do, and I'm so sorry to hear that. It really honestly depends. Everyone is different. Everybody's recovery, everybody's journey is completely, totally different. If everyone's like, oh, well, you need to be doing this, no, go ahead, hear out your doctor, listen to what your doctor has to say, but then listen to what your body and what your mind is trying to tell you. And I just really wish that, like, gosh, and for me to even listen to my mind was like, Kai, you could be swimming and jumping around. And even right after I even woke up from surgery, I was ready to kind of go. I was ready to go and be around family. I was ready to eat. I was ready to, I don't know. I was just so happy that I woken up and I was alive. Like I mentioned before, I will be starting a IVF fertility video. I may bring on my partner Danila to go ahead and join us, because he was actually the one who discovered the whole Live Strong movement and understood the whole a lot more better than I did in regards to the whole fertility and everything. So I will be doing that for sure, because doing that right after surgery was like, I couldn't believe that. But if you do like what you see, please by all means like, subscribe, follow, hit the bell button so you can go ahead and get those alerts of when I upload. And please remember to go ahead and be patient and kind and loving to yourself throughout this whole journey. And until next time, peace, love, and plenty of coconut oil. Bye!